The Thieaudio Hype 10. Let's talk about it. This set is sent to me by a friend, another fellow YouTuber who's much bigger than I am. And let's start by saying I appreciate anytime people send me stuff to review. It's impossible for me to buy or get samples from everything. So it's a huge thing whenever I get something sent to me by the channel and by whoever it is. And if you're interested, just reach out. Let's start by talking about the build quality of this IEM. So the build quality of this is good. It's kind of what I call a stereotypical Thie of their more modern style sets. For me and for my ears, it's extremely comfortable. I have no problems with it. It has all the features I would want from a modern day IEM. It has, just a nice shell, nice size, not too heavy. Its nozzle is not too big. It has a nice little wing right here, and it has a nice kind of nozzle with a little circular ring around it, which allows you to fit almost any ear tip on there. The faceplate design is also very nice. It took me a little while to get used to it, but I dig it, although it not being my favorite faceplate design. But there you go. I mean, it's a Thieaudio case. It's the kind they use on almost all their IEMs. Not super exciting. It's their cable. It's their EST cable. Nice ear hooks. Very soft, pliable material. 4-wire cable. Nice chin slider that doesn't shake or move. Nice Y-split. I mean, the cable itself feels like skin and it's beautiful in hand. And overall, just really solid cable with no issues. So how would I describe the sound of this IEM? Impactful, bassy, but not too bassy. Great soundstage, great feeling of where you're at, pristine. This is overall a really solid IEM, and part of me is really happy to talk to you guys about it, but part of me is not. It's interesting to me how, they have the Thieaudio 2, 4, and 10, and to me, it goes up every time it gets better. And I try to think of myself as, unbiased and try to find value for people. But in some ways, this IEM is a very good value. In some ways, it's just really expensive. So let's look at some graphs, and then we'll kind of make some summaries here at the end. Okay, the Thieaudio Hype 10 graph. If you notice, you look at this hits pretty much all the major things I want. Has good, strong bass, nice upper mids, good air extension. It's not exactly perfect because nothing is, but this is one of those IEMs that I can listen to no EQ and I find exceedingly enjoyable and not overly colored or overly off. It sounds neutral with a hint of fun and with a good sense of space and air around it. So it's a good IEM, but let's compare this to some of its peers from the same company, and we'll kind of go from there. Let's compare this to the Hype 2. I think the Hype 2 is a little lackluster. It just didn't have a nice bass for me. It didn't have enough upper mids. It just felt kind of flat. Not necessarily dead, not necessarily bad, but unexceptional. Like even the Hype 2 at $300, it's still like there's a point when you're stepping into the big boy game, and you kind of have to ask yourself when that point is. Is it $100 for some? Is it $200? It's right around $250 for me. Once you hit at that point, the IEM better be good. It's not judged like, oh, it's a budget set. No, it's an expensive set, and it should be judged that way. So while I'm not saying the Hype 2 is a bad IEM, I personally would, if you're going to, if you're thinking about it, I probably would stretch for the Hype 4 instead. But, to me, it's hard to justify the extra money for it depending on what you're going for. But if you're going for endgame, you're looking for an absolutely excellent set with money, no issue, the Hype 10 being at its price might actually be a really good bargain. I saw a used, or not used, but open box copy on Bloom Audio today for $800, which seems pretty fair, all things considering. Let's look at the Hype 4. Now these are both really similar. I mean, they're so similar to the point it's almost silly. For me, it's hard to describe with graphs, but for me, the Hype 10 fixes the problems with the Hype 4. Like, the Hype 4, while an extremely engaging and extremely good set, lacked some of that upper air and treble to be excellent. Now, is this because of the extra price? Is this because of the extra air and air? Or, BA drivers? I can't tell you. But the Hype 10 is a better set. I mean, it could be a lot of different things, but I feel like the space and soundstage and space around my head is better. I feel like the resolution is better, and it's just an overall better set. Another one to look at is the Monarch Mark II. To me, these are pretty similar in price, depending, but the Hype 10 has an increased bass to the point where it doesn't feel lean and off to me. It feels nice. I mean, I think there's a case for both of these IEMs. I think some people might like the air and presentation of the Monarch Mark II better, but for me, if the bass isn't right, the IEM sounds completely off. Now, having said that, the Monarch Mark II is a fine IEM and a good IEM, but today, if I were to recommend somebody a set between these two, I would go Hype 10, no question. Another one to look at. This one also came out recently, came after this. This is the Mark III Thieaudio Oracle. I mean, the Hype 10 has a little bit more bass. They have a little bit different presentation here. Like, I feel like the Oracle MK3 has this extra, almost flat energy gain from 4 to 6K, which I'm not a huge fan of. The Hype 10 does it right, does it well. I feel like the air and upper extension on the Hype 10, it feels more natural and doesn't feel as excessive on the Oracle Mark III. Like the Oracle, the air on it isn't perfect, and it is not a bad set either, but again, I mean, it's hard to justify these things. A lot of times you have to try them from a friend, but I do think the Hype 10 is better, but the Oracle MK3 is special, especially being at its price. I can see how that'd be a lot more appealing for people. Another one to think about. This is something I've kind of fallen in love with. I have here at house and I've been listening to off and on as of late. But the Mirai. I like the Mirai. I've kind of fallen in love with having to have it on loan from a friend for a while. And I think it's a fantastic set. It lacks the bass and it does come across piercing, but it has an overall really nice presentation. Like you'll notice it kind of peaks up right here and goes down here. Like these upper mids right here is what's really interesting to me, is how they're both very similar, through this 2K to 3K. And I wanted to show you that. To me, I mean, these compete very well in price. And I think, again, the Hype 10 has that better bass. It's just more balanced and nicer, has a little bit better extension. The Duni Mirai, again, not a bad set, but I think it just doesn't compete with the Hype 10 for my ears and for what I like. More to look at, the Diva. I love the Diva. The Diva, I think, has a better sense of upper mids and air. It's a fantastic set for what it is, but it doesn't have the right bass response. The fact is, though, they trade blows. I can't really say that the Diva is a worse IEM because it is a fantastic set, but they both kind of have somewhat problematic bass reasons for me. But I kind of like the Hype 10 better. I like it that it's kind of a better value. I like it that I don't like sets that have dip switches, and I basically sold all my expensive sets that do have that because I don't like switching them out. I don't like having to be responsible for any kind of screwdriver or wire or switch. It just annoys me. If I want to pick an IEM and go with it. And that's one of my problems with the Diva, but for certain people, that might actually be a benefit and kind of a fun toy. But there's other toys. There's other toys that are cheaper that you can do. You can test out your bass, called EQ, or even other IEMs like the Tantrum 4U could be a really good choice if you want to go in that direction. But the Hype 10 competes very readily. Like, if I was looking at these, and just testing them out, I probably, knowing their MSRP price, the Hype 10 is such a better deal over the Diva. Despite the Diva it's not a bad set, but is any IEM, there's a point where IEMs don't really have value. They're just numbers thrown to ludicrous levels of insanity, you know, like just ridiculous amounts of value to a point where it doesn't really hold value. And to me, the Hype 10 doesn't, you know, it's a better IEM for the price. It's debatably better than the Diva. And I think it's probably what I would recommend, especially at its price. But the Diva is special. It does something special with upper mids. And so that's something to remember as well. Another one I want to show this, and I don't show this off very often, is the Jupiter. I mean, the Jupiter to me has better bass, has a little bit better extension. But these are, like I said, they're both really comparable. Like if I could find them for the same price, I would go Jupiter. But is it worth that $1,600? Kind of like the same thing with the Diva? No. And so it just becomes an interesting situation overall that the Thieaudio Hype 10, it competes well enough with its peers that it's just a great value in that regards. All right, so let's rank this thing up. The Thieaudio Hype 10, an exceptional IEM. I mean, its base levels really aren't exactly right, but they're good. Its mids and highs are extremely pristine. It images very well. It doesn't have this insane sense of note weight and slam, but it's also more than acceptable, and it's something that's very satisfying and wonderful. Its soundstage is good. It's really nice, and it has really good resolution. I think, you know, it has some problems, but not enough to really ding. I think this is a solid value proposition. I fully enjoy the Hype 10. I really think it's a set that impresses me, and that's something that I could wear pretty much every day and use all the time. It's just extremely impressive, and I am fully in love with this set and can fully recommend it to you guys if you're after an IEM in this price range. Now, there are other sets that are better values, but it kind of depends on what you need and what you're looking for. So is this a set to beat under 1,000? I think very well so. It's a really solid set with great air, great extension, and great naturalness about this. I think for most of you, you can probably be fine with buying something a little cheaper. I think the Hype 4 does some similar things, and if the upper air and treble of the Hype 4 don't bother you, you can get 99% of the sound quality that the Hype 10 delivers, and so that's just kind of something to note. Again, this is a treasure of an IEM. I appreciate my friend for sending this out. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and I hope you guys have a great day. You're still here. It's over. Go home. Go watch another IEM video. It's done. That's the entire video. What more do you want?